In the heart of Africa, nestled between thick forests and rolling hills, lay the small village of Kokamba. It was a village like any other, full of laughter, hard work, and a deep sense of community. The people of Kokamba were kind and generous, their lives intertwined in a fabric of traditions and stories passed down through generations. One night, a thick, oppressive darkness enveloped Kokamba. The stars that usually sparkled like diamonds in the sky were hidden behind ominous clouds. The air was heavy, and an eerie silence replaced the usual sounds of crickets and night birds. It was on this night that a child was born, a child who would change the village forever. The cries of a newborn pierced the night, echoing through the huts. The child's mother, Amina, was a well-loved woman in the village. She had waited many years to have a child, and the village rejoiced when she finally gave birth. However, the joy was short-lived. As the child drew its first breath, the village elder, Bobatond, felt a shiver run down his spine. He knew something was wrong. The baby, named Abioye, had a mark on his forehead, a strange symbol that glowed faintly in the dark. Bobatond recognized it from the ancient tales, stories of a child born with a curse, destined to bring despair and fear. Despite Bobatond's fears, Abioye grew up like any other child. He was a quiet boy, often keeping to himself. But there was something about him that unsettled the villagers. Strange things happened when he was around. Livestock would fall ill, crops would wither, and people would get hurt in mysterious accidents. One day, when Abioye was just 5 years old, he wandered into the forest alone. Hours passed, and when he finally returned, he was covered in dirt and holding a snake by its tail. The villagers were horrified, but the snake seemed to obey him, slithering away when he let it go. Whispers of witchcraft began to spread. As Abioye grew older, the incidents became more frequent and more dangerous. One evening, during a village celebration, the bonfire roared uncontrollably, threatening to consume everything in its path. Abioye stood nearby, his eyes reflecting the flames, a strange smile on his face. The villagers were convinced he was responsible, though they had no proof. People began to avoid him. Children ran away when they saw him coming, and adults whispered behind his back. Amina, heartbroken, tried to protect her son, but even she could not deny the growing fear in her heart. She sought the help of Bobatond, hoping he could find a way to lift the curse. Bobatond spent many nights consulting the ancient scrolls and communing with the spirits. He confirmed what he had feared since Abioye's birth: the boy was indeed cursed. The mark on his forehead was a symbol of an ancient spirit, one that thrived on chaos and fear. He called a meeting with the village elders and explained the situation. The elders were torn. They cared for Amina and did not want to harm Abioye, but they also feared for the safety of the village. After much debate, they decided to watch Abioye closely, hoping to find a way to control the curse. One day, a group of children went to play by the river. Abioye, now 10 years old, was among them. As they splashed and laughed, a sudden current swept through the water, pulling one of the younger children, Kofi, into its grasp. The others screamed for help, but Abioye stood still, his eyes fixed on the struggling boy. Bobatond and some villagers arrived just in time to save Kofi, but the incident cemented their fears. They believed Abioye had summoned the current. A decision had to be made. Bobatond suggested a ritual that might bind the spirit within Abioye, but it was risky. If it failed, the consequences could be dire. The village gathered in the clearing under the full moon. Bobatond drew a circle around Abioye, marking it with sacred symbols and herbs. Amina watched with tears in her eyes as the elder began to chant. The air grew thick with tension, and the villagers held their breath. As Bobatond's chants grew louder, Abioye began to tremble. The mark on his forehead glowed brighter, and a cold wind swept through the clearing. The ground shook, and a low growl echoed in the night. The spirit within Abioye fought back, resisting the binding. With a final, desperate cry, Bobaton poured all his strength into the ritual. There was a blinding flash of light, and then silence. When the villagers opened their eyes, Abioye lay unconscious in the circle. The mark on his forehead was gone, but Bobaton knew the spirit was not truly bound. It was merely dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. For a time, the village returned to a semblance of normalcy. Abioye, now a teenager, was quieter than ever, often retreating into the forest alone. The villagers remained wary, but the incidents had stopped, and they hoped the curse had been lifted. However, Bobaton remained vigilant. He knew the spirit would not remain dormant forever. He taught Abioye how to control his emotions and harness the energy within him, hoping to keep the spirit at bay. Abioye, understanding the burden he carried, tried his best to follow the elders' teachings. Years passed, and Abioye became a young man. The village began to relax, believing the worst was behind them. But one fateful night, a storm unlike any other hit Cucumber. Lightning flashed across the sky, and thunder roared like an angry beast. The villagers huddled in their homes, praying for the storm to pass. In the midst of the chaos, Abioye felt a familiar sensation. The mark on his forehead reappeared, glowing brighter than ever. The spirit within him had awakened, stronger and more vengeful. Abioye tried to fight it, but the storm fed the spirit's power. The storm grew worse, and strange creatures emerged from the forest, drawn to the dark energy surrounding Abioye. The village was under siege. People screamed as shadows moved through the streets, and the air was thick with fear. Abioye, now fully possessed, walked through the chaos, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Bobaton, frail but determined, confronted Abioye. He chanted the binding ritual, but the spirit laughed, its voice echoing through Abioye. The elder's strength was no match for the spirit's fury. With a wave of his hand, Abioye sent Bobaton flying, crashing into the side of a hut. The villagers, led by a few brave souls, tried to fight back. They armed themselves with torches and spears, hoping to drive the creatures away. But the spirit's power was too great. One by one, the villagers fell, their efforts in vain. Amina, desperate to save her son, pleaded with the spirit. She spoke of love and forgiveness, hoping to reach the boy within. For a moment, Abioye hesitated, his eyes flickering. The spirit's hold weakened, but it was not enough. The spirit roared in anger, sending a shockwave that knocked Amina to the ground. Bobaton, using the last of his strength, called upon the ancient spirits for help. He knew there was only one way to save the village. He had to sacrifice himself to bind the spirit once and for all. With a heavy heart, he approached Abioye, chanting the final verses of the binding ritual. As he chanted, the sky cleared, and the creatures retreated. The spirit, sensing the power of the ritual, fought back with all its might. But Bobaton's resolve was unbreakable. With a final, powerful chant, he bound the spirit within himself, sealing its power. Abioye collapsed, the mark on his forehead fading into nothing. The villagers, battered and bruised, emerged from their homes. They found Bobaton lying still, his life force spent in the ritual. Tears flowed as they honored the elder's sacrifice. Amina cradled her son, relieved that he was free from the spirit's influence. The village began to rebuild, their bond stronger than ever. Abioye, though haunted by the memories of what he had done, vowed to live a life of peace and to honor Bobaton's sacrifice. Years later, Abioye became the new village elder. He shared the story of the spirit and Bobaton's sacrifice, ensuring that future generations would remember the lessons of the past. The village of Cucumber thrived, its people united by their shared history and the strength of their community. Abioye often visited Bobaton's grave, seeking guidance and strength. He knew the spirit's power was gone, but the memory of the nightmare would always go. It was a reminder of the darkness that can lurk within and the power of love and sacrifice to overcome it. The tale of Abioye, the cursed child who became a beacon of hope, was passed down through the generations, a testament to the resilience and spirit of Cucumber. As Abioye settled into his role as elder, he sought to learn more about the ancient rituals and healing practices of his people. He traveled to distant villages, meeting with other elders and shamans, gathering knowledge to help protect his village from future threats. Through his journeys, he discovered new herbs, learned old songs of power, and brought back stories of wisdom. In one of these villages, he met a wise old healer named Nia, who taught him the art of healing with the energy of the earth and the spirits of the ancestors. Under her guidance, Abioye learned to harness his own inner strength and use it to help others. He returned to Cucumber not only as an elder but also as a healer, ready to face any challenge that might come their way. Years of peace and prosperity followed, but the villagers never forgot the dark times. Every now and then, a shadow of doubt would creep into their minds. Whispers would start about the return of the spirit or a new curse befalling the village. Abioye knew that fear could be just as dangerous as any curse, and he worked tirelessly to reassure his people. One day, a young boy named Kwame came to Abioye with a tale of seeing strange shadows in the forest at night. The boy was terrified, and his fear quickly spread through the village. Remembering his own childhood and the weight of such fears, Abioye decided to investigate. Abioye ventured into the forest, guided by Kwame's descriptions. The forest was dense, the trees towering and ancient, their branches creating a canopy that blocked out the sun. As he walked deeper, he felt the air grow colder, and the sounds of the village faded away, replaced by an eerie silence. He found a clearing where the shadows seemed to gather, swirling like dark mist. Abioye called upon the knowledge he had gained from Nia and Bobatond. He chanted ancient incantations and sprinkled sacred herbs around the clearing. The shadows recoiled, hissing as they dissipated into the ground. Returning to the village, Abioye reassured the villagers that the shadows were remnants of old magic, weakened and scattered. He taught them protective rituals and charms to keep their home safe. The village once again found peace, their trust in Abioye unwavering. Abioye knew that the shadows were a sign that the balance between light and dark was delicate and needed constant vigilance. He promised to always protect Cucumber and to pass on his knowledge to future generations, ensuring that the village would remain strong and united. As the years passed, Abioye saw the children of Cucumber grow into strong and wise individuals. He took particular interest in those who showed a natural affinity for the old ways, teaching them the rituals and stories that had been passed down to him. The village thrived, their bond unbreakable. One day, a traveler from a distant land arrived in Cucumber. He brought tales of strange happenings and a plea for help. Abioye, seeing an opportunity to strengthen the ties between villages, offered his assistance. He gathered a group of the bravest and wisest villagers, and they set out to help their distant neighbors. The journey was long and arduous, filled with challenges and dangers. The group encountered wild beasts, treacherous landscapes, and unfriendly tribes. But through it all, Abioye's wisdom and the unity of the villagers saw them through. They reached the distant village, which was plagued by a mysterious illness and strange occurrences. Abioye and his companions worked tirelessly to heal the sick and drive away the dark forces that haunted the village. They shared their knowledge and rituals, teaching the villagers how to protect themselves. In gratitude, the distant village offered their own wisdom and traditions, creating a bond that would last for generations. Upon returning to Cucumber, Abioye and his group were welcomed as heroes. The village celebrated their safe return and the new bonds they had formed. Abioye felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that the strength of Cucumber now extended beyond their borders. He continued to lead with compassion and wisdom, always mindful of the delicate balance between light and dark. Under his guidance, Cucumber became a beacon of hope and strength, known far and wide for their unity and resilience. Abioye grew old, his hair turning white and his steps slowing. He chose a successor, a young woman named Zoe, who had shown great promise in her studies and a deep love for the village. He taught her everything he knew, confident that she would lead Cucumber with the same wisdom and strength. As he prepared to step down, abioye reflected on his life. From the cursed child to the revered elder, his journey had been long and filled with trials. But through it all, he had learned that the true power of Cucumber lay in its people and their unbreakable bond. One clear, starry night, abioye gathered the village for a final meeting. He spoke of the past and the lessons learned, of the sacrifices made and the strength of the community. He reminded them that the darkness could always be overcome by unity and love. With tears in their eyes, the villagers thanked abioye for his leadership and wisdom. They promised to honor his legacy and to continue the traditions that had kept them strong. Abioye, with a heart full of pride and love, passed the mantle of leadership to Zoe. Under Zoe's guidance, Cucumber continued to thrive. She brought new ideas and practices, blending them with the old ways to create a vibrant, dynamic community. The bonds formed with other villages grew stronger, and Cucumber became a center of learning and culture. Abioye spent his remaining days in peace, watching with satisfaction as the village he loved so dearly prospered. He knew that his journey had come full circle, and that the future of Cucumber was bright. When abioye passed away, the entire village mourned. They held a grand ceremony to honor his life and his contributions. Stories of his courage and wisdom were shared, ensuring that his legacy would live on in the hearts of the people. Zoe and the other elders continued to teach the young ones about abioye and the importance of unity and resilience. The story of the cursed child who became a hero was etched into the history of Cucumber, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always hope. Years turned into decades, and the story of abioye became a legend. The village of Cucumber remained a place of peace and prosperity, its people united by the lessons of the past. The spirit of Bobaton and abioye lived on, guiding and protecting the village. New generations grew up hearing the tale of the night child, understanding the importance of love, sacrifice, and unity. The mark of the ancient spirit was gone, but its memory served as a constant reminder of the power of community. And so, the village of Cucumber continued to flourish, a testament to the strength of its people and the enduring legacy of abioye, the child who turned a curse into a blessing.